so that we can create a space without the stigma of talking about stress, without the stigma of asking for help, without the stigma of asking for support. And this was one of the best ways that I could think of creating the space. I also wanted to create a space of support. I think a lot of us connect when we talk about something that's really powerful, something that's really important. And that was why I was like, let's see if this is something that can make sense and that will support people on their journey. So welcome to the very first edition. I'm Madhurima Sapati. I love to support multi-passionate ambitious dreamers manage their stress and prevent burnout so that they can do all the cool things they want to do and achieve their dreams without their own selves holding them back. Let's get started. I'm just gonna share this right off the bat that if you have any questions and if you're watching us live, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. If you're watching this on LinkedIn or if you're watching this on YouTube, and I'll respond to them. I can see the chats, I can see the live comments come in, and so I can respond to them as soon as possible. If you do end up missing out on this live, feel free to once again drop your questions in the comments and I'll pick them up in the very next live that we will be doing next week. I'm gonna give this a try for 4 weeks. Yeah, so for pretty much till the second half of October. I'm gonna give it 4 turns, see if this is something that you guys find supportive, find important, and find beneficial for yourself and valuable for yourself. And if you do, we'll keep this going. If you don't, it's all cool. We can work on figuring out what other new cool solutions make sense to support you on your journey of stress management. With that, let's get started. Thank you so much for being here. Whoever's watching this live or replay, I'm deeply, deeply grateful. And let's get started. I have a few questions that I got from my newsletter, which you can subscribe to by clicking on the link in my bio and doing all the cool, cool things and figuring out. I'll once again drop a link for you to subscribe along with the freebie, so that you're not just going in and being like, well, where do I subscribe? You get a free gift, and hopefully that supports you on your journey and gets you into my newsletter where I also share cool stress management tips on a weekly basis. You can also share your questions on there. There's a space where you can send me your questions and I will answer them in the next AMA. With that, let's get started. I have a few questions. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. We are gonna get started with the very first question that we have. What is stress? Woo, let's go. Now, this is, I think a lot of us talk a lot about stress, right? We talk about, oh, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling exhausted, I'm feeling stressed out. And oftentimes in that space, there's the understanding that we are stressed, but we don't exactly know what stress feels like. And I just wanted to kind of create this or answer this with the aspect of creating a foundation for us to move on and for us to create our stress management journey from. So, stress is nothing but a physiological reaction to perceived or real threat that happens inside of our bodies. Oftentimes, it happens in the split of a second. There's a lot of cataclysmic reactions happening in there. And is it cataclysmic? Yeah, hopefully there's a lot of, let's say, chain reactions, right? If I'm wrong, chain reactions. There's a whole range of chain reactions that happen with our adrenaline, with our cortisol, cool things happening inside of our brain to kind of prepare us to either fight the situation, run away from the situation, or quote unquote play dead until the situation solves itself and we can then come out of it, right? Three core reactions or responses to whatever stress we are observing. Now, understand this: the triggers that happen in there, they can be perceived or real. What does this mean? It can be a real threat, as in, you are in traffic, a car zooms past you very close by, next to you. That is a real threat. A perceived threat can be, I have to write an exam tomorrow, I have a really important meeting. And these perceived threats can have the tendency of creating a life or death situation, that if I don't figure this out properly, I'm going to end up dying, or have like really catastrophic responses to simple and sometimes normal situations. Now, I'm not saying that them being simple or normal situations equates to your fear not being real. It's just an understanding of what is happening in that space, what are your triggers, and then working on them, which is really, really important to work on those triggers so that you are not caught unaware by situations that are occurring in your space. But we'll talk more about that in one of the later questions that I also have in the space. But to get started, stress is nothing but a physiological reaction. It's an entire body reaction where we are trying to survive a situation. It's the fight flight freeze response, where we are trying to simply survive a situation. Oftentimes this response happens even before our body registers it. What does that mean? Or our mind registers it, basically, or a mix of both of them registered. And what does that mean? Sometimes, for example, I'm gonna give examples because I'm cool like that. For example, you are in the middle of a night in the kitchen trying to grab a glass of water, and suddenly you feel someone step behind you. Your instinctual reaction is to either fight that person or run away from that space, right? Only after they come into the light do you realize that, oh, it's your mom. And so the mind is like, okay, let's turn off, this is not an important thing. But even before we registered who this person is, our hands automatically went out to punch them or to run away from the situation. Or let's say, for example, you are, oh, by the way, that has happened, that example has happened a lot of times. I have been this close to punch my mom when she quote unquote randomly appeared next to me, and I was just like, what are you doing here? And I was like, but yeah, you get it, I haven't punched her though, otherwise she would have beaten me up. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that is one example. Another example is you are walking on the street and you feel or you see a car zooming past you, about to zoom past you or hit you. You instinctually turn away, you instinctually turn to a space where you're safer, right? Or oftentimes you also freeze in that situation, our entire body kind of goes stiff and we are just like in a shock, which is what usually happens when we see in movies. The hero dives in to protect the heroine, and or the heroine dives in to protect the hero, gender roles. But that's usually what happens, is you are frozen in shock, which is also another way your body responds to stress. And so you have all these cool responses, and oftentimes it doesn't really register, it doesn't really click in that, oh, we are in a stressful situation. Only after the threat has passed do we sometimes recognize that we were in a stressful situation. What happens, however, is that we are living in a space where we are constantly under chronic stress. We move from one stressful situation to another stressful situation, so we're constantly under a lot of stress. And what that usually leads us to experience, our body, by the way, is used to handling stress in short bursts, not in long bursts, right? It's our what do you call it, what do you call it, it's how it's a survival game, right? We have created these systems that help us survive stress, but only in short bursts of time, never in long bursts. And so when we are in chronic stress, our body starts to kind of break down all the things that usually happen during a stressful situation. For example, our digestive system is shut off, we are breathing rapidly to kind of ensure that our limbs are getting the oxygen it requires to kind of run away from a situation or fight in a situation. Our reproductive system is switched off, all these other systems that are basically switched off when we are in a chronic stress situation. These systems are working at a very low power, which is often why we end up having, gastric issues and cardiac issues, because our heart is pumping way too much blood way too quickly, and our veins are not used to having that much pressure on them. We have high blood pressure, our immunity is on a low. We have all of these things that often happen because we are in a chronic stress situation. Now, understanding this is important to answer the next question that I have here, which is, what is burnout? Burnout is nothing but improper stress management over a long duration of time. So, if you manage your stress properly and do it on a regular basis, you won't end up burning out. That is at the very core of what burnout means, right? Or what burnout is. Now, when you are in this chronic stress situation where your body is at the max, it's running on extremes, right? Like one aspect of our body is going really fast, like our heartbeat is fast, um, our lungs are breathing shallowly, so we are breathing only till here, we just go, right? Oftentimes we are in the hyperventilation state, and and our digestive system and all these other systems are not working that well because they are on low power, because our mind is in a space where we need to survive whatever situation is occurring. When we are in that space for a really long time, we end up burning out. And I believe, I don't think, I mean, it's my personal belief that burnout is nothing but our body's last defense mechanism to help us get back to normal. If we don't take proper care of our stress, if we ignore the signs, which often happens, let's be real. Oh, I'm feeling like my heart is going to burst out of my chest, or I feel like I feel jittery, I feel angry, I feel irritated, I feel drained, I feel sad, I feel depressed because of all the things that's happening around me, and I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling on edge. We notice these signs and we walk away because we are like, well, let me figure out what I need to do first. Let me get through with whatever situation I am in so that I can move out of this space. And then I'll figure out when I have X, then I'll do Y. When I have everything prepared, I have everything settled down, then I'll take care of myself. Because we keep ignoring these signs over a long duration of time, we end up burning out. Important thing to remember is it's not that you are going to experience a short amount of stress and you burn out immediately. You burn out when your body has been in that stressful situation for a long period of time. And when I say that it is our body's last defense mechanism, I personally believe that burnout is a way for us to slow down and stop and relax and get back to normal. It's our body's way of coming back to homeostasis so that we can focus on repairing ourselves and healing ourselves instead of being in that high stress situations. Oftentimes, though, that doesn't work because with the multi passionate, ambitious people who are potentially watching this, because I know you guys are my tribe, with the people that are in that mind space or have a lot of limiting beliefs like I'm not doing enough, I am I need to do more, I'm not worthy enough, I need to perfect this, I'm pointing at me because I was all of those things, I still am sometimes, not gonna lie. Mindset shifts don't occur overnight, but there, if we are in that space and if we have those mindset blocks, what ends up happening is we try to push harder during that burnout phase. It's like you are stretching a rubber band for such a long time, it's stressed out, it's about to break, and then we are like, can we pull a bit more though, can we pull just a bit more, can we just stretch this just a little bit more? And so what ends up happening at that point of time is we either break down, we have mental breakdowns, or we are just stuck there. We are just stuck in that space where our burnout keeps prolonging, it keeps extending, it keeps getting worse by the day because we are not taking care of ourselves, we are not pausing and taking care of ourselves. So that in its essentiality is what burnout is, that in its essentiality is what stress is. Now that we have laid down the foundation, let's answer some other cool questions that we have here. The very first question, or the very third question that I have is ignoring stress. Does ignoring stress help with stress management? I remember I made this meme the other day, and a lot of people reached out to me and they were like, well, why doesn't ignoring stress help you with the stress management journey? And you need to understand that while our body is used to managing stress in short bursts of time, I've said this again, I said this in the start, I'll say it again, our body is used to managing stress only in short bursts of time. And so we have a system. Our sympathetic nervous system gets started with the stress response, and our parasympathetic nervous system helps with the calming down phase of things, getting us back to normal. But when we ignore our stress and we are ignoring it, let's say it's just a small thing, we still have a lot of impact on our emotional side of things, on our physical side of things. For example, if we have been tensed for a really long time, we end up holding all that pressure and we're not taking care of ourselves in that space. When if we are angry, if we are irritated, if we are not working on our emotions, if we are not regulating our emotions, that can lead us to experience, once again, there's a lot of internal strain that occurs when we are in a stressful situation, and this is only for short bursts of time. Imagine you are going through a really long difficult period which is obviously stressful. For example, someone is sick in your house, you are going through constant stressful situations, but if you don't take the time to take care of yourself on a regular basis, there's high chances that you will end up falling sick as well, right? I know it feels like, oh, Madhurima, it's easy for you to say. You're sitting in your fancy studio and talking to us. Well, no, I have been there. I have been there with my dad. I know how it feels to constantly overwork yourself, and everyone's doing that in the house. It's not just you. And so all of us are this close to breaking down, and we often break down as well. But we can't do anything. But it's that mindset of we can't do anything. You need to shift that mindset, even if it is for a couple of minutes, even if it is just for 5 minutes, even if you're taking a shower, you take the time to work on yourself, to relax yourself, to rejuvenate yourself, because you don't want to end up running on dry. right? You don't want to run on empty. That is not the situation that we need to be in. And so when we are ignoring our stress, or when everything gets settled, then I will take care of myself, if you are in that mindset, not only is your stress not getting completed, your stress cycle is not getting completed, but also there is a lot of emotional strain, mental strain, physical strain happening on you, that is affecting you. And then there is the responses of all of these things. It's not that if you're angry everyone around you is fine with it. Oftentimes in anger we say a lot of different things that leads to fight, that leads to miscommunication. All of that adds in more stress, all of that adds in and creates a space where we are just like, I don't know what to do, right? When we are in that space, ignoring stress doesn't work. You need to take the time to take care of yourself. You need to get back to normal. You need to create a system where you can take care of yourself even in the worst of situations. That is really really crucial. I once again remind you, if you have any questions around stress management, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to respond to them. I can see your comments in here and I can put them across. Right now I'm answering some of the questions that I got from my newsletter, which you can once again access by clicking the link in my bio. Or I'll drop a free gift that you guys can check out at the end of this session, and that will lead you to my newsletter. With that, let's move on. So, before we move on, once again, ignoring stress doesn't help with your stress management. You need to take care of yourself, you need to create that time to take care of yourself. You need to. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna a lot of times you're like, let's gloss over this, doesn't make sense. You need to do this for yourself, not for anyone else, for your own self. You need to take care of yourself. You need to not ignore your stress in that space. With that, let's get started with the next question that we have here, which is, what's the best way to start your stress management journey? The best way to start your stress management journey is to have awareness. This is a really important point. You need to have an awareness, and I made a post on this yesterday and someone responded to it like, can you explain a bit more on this concept? You need to have an awareness of what your triggers are, what is leading you to experiencing stress, what are your stresses. Basically make a list. On my YouTube channel I will be posting an entire video on this concept as well, that I created last night after someone commented on it. But on my YouTube channel there is something called as the burnout awareness game that you guys can check out, where we talk about how to figure out what your trigger list looks like. What are some of the things that lead you to experience stress in your daily life, on a regular basis? So once you have awareness of what usually leads you to experience stress, the next thing that you need to work on is, how does your body respond to stress? We have a lot of signs that our body gives us. Having an awareness of, well, what are my signs, helps you understand that, hey, if I am experiencing anxiety, if I'm feeling jittery, if I'm feeling over the edge, if I'm feeling irritable, all of these things, irritatable, if I'm irritated, let's leave it at that. If I'm irritated, then that must mean that I am experiencing stress, because a lot of times those are the signs of us experiencing stress. So if I'm feeling all of those things, if I'm feeling all of those emotions, that is a great way to clue us in that we might be experiencing something stressful, and allows us to take a step back and look at what the situation is, where we are right now, what could potentially be leading us to experiencing this stress. So having an awareness of what your signs look like. And the third thing is having an awareness of what really helps you. Not every solution works for everyone. For me, dancing and singing helps out a lot. And then there are times when for me meditation helps out a lot. So my relief patterns are different depending on which situation I am in. You need to have an awareness of this. Basically, when we are stressed, we are at extremes, right? We are really high energy. That means we are a high, anxiety, jitteriness, feelings of unease. We are angry, we are irritated, and all of those high level emotions and high level feelings. In situations like that, you need to have something that brings you down and normalizes you. And then we have situations where we are sad, we are depressed, we are down, we don't have any motivation to do anything. In moments like that, you need something that helps you get back up, right? So our relief patterns need to be in two spaces: one that helps us calm down and one that helps us kind of bring our energy back up again. For me, something that helps me bring my energy back up again is simply dancing, singing, going for a jog, going for a walk, listening to music, doing all these things that help me get my energy back up again and helps me relax. Another thing that can help me when I am in the high energy is meditation, breath work, journaling, having a conversation with myself, self coaching. All of these things also help me with my stress management journey. So, or stress relief journey. With that, let's kind of bring it all together. You need to have the triangle of awareness. You need to have an understanding of what stresses you out. You need to have an understanding of what are some of the signs that your body shows when you are experiencing stress, and you need to have an understanding of what some of your relief patterns look like. What are some of the things that can bring you relief? With that, let's move on to the final question that we have here. I wanted to do a 30-minute live. We are 10 minutes, 10 minutes to go. Let's bring that down to 5. Let's talk with what are some of the best tips to get started on your stress management journey. Number 1, have awareness. Number 2, sit down with yourself and actually have a chat as to what is happening. The reason why journaling is one of the best stress management tactics is because it helps you process your emotions. It helps you get your emotions out in front of you. It gets it out of here and gets it in front of you, where it's more tangible, where it's more real, where you can see what is happening. So journaling is also something super super cool. It helps you kind of brain dump all the things that's happening around you and actually process them as well as you can. Another tip that I have for you is breath work. As you remember, I was telling you that oftentimes when we are in high stress situations or we are experiencing chronic stress, our breath only goes till here and back up. It doesn't go deeper. It's just, so we are not breathing deeply enough. When we breathe deeply, when we are conscious and aware of how deep our breath is going and how it's relaxing our body, that can be a great way to also once again relax your body, because deep breaths is directly connected to the vagus nervous system that triggers our parasympathetic nervous system. So helps you. Deep breathing helps you. So breath work, practicing this on a daily can be a really great tool that you can try out. Another great tool can be once again figuring out what are some of the things that helps you calm down and what are some of the things that brings your energy back up again. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to give generalistic responses to these questions, but the more specific the question and the more context we have around your journey, the better we can figure out what are some of the things that help you with your stress management journey. With that, I want to leave you with this. I'm super excited to keep doing this. I'm super excited to create a space where we can support each other, hold space for each other, and ask questions and break the stigma of stress, break the stigma of asking for help. I would like you to join me in the next AMA, ask your questions, and if you need further support so that we can work on this, actually work on this, I invite you. I'm doing a really cool thing where I am creating a program called Unlock Your Potential, where we will be working on what is currently stressing you out right now in this particular timeline. And we will work on figuring out the strategies. What are some of the things that are freaking you out, are frustrating you in terms of your goals, in terms of the year ending. With that, I invite you to join me. Half the prices. Doing this at 50% off on all my rates. We have an amazing package. I'll be dropping that package on social medias today as soon as possible. And when I do, I invite you to join me in so that we can work together on a one on one space and figure out what is the best way to help you with your stress management journey. I hope that helped. I'll see you in the next one. Remember to drop your questions. We'll pick it up in the next live. Till then, take care. Bye bye.